The sound of shattering glass jolted me from my daydream. I rushed to the kitchen, my heart pounding, to find Mason standing over a broken vase, his face contorted with anger. "Damn it, Evelyn. Why do you always leave things where I can knock them over?" he snapped, glaring at me as if I deliberately set a trap for him. I bit back a retort. This wasn't the Mason I'd married 5 years ago. That Mason would have apologized, helped clean up, maybe even laughed about his clumsiness. This new version, well, I hardly recognized him anymore. "I'm sorry, honey," I said, kneeling to pick up the larger pieces. "I'll be more careful next time." Mason grunted and stormed out of the kitchen. I heard the front door slam a moment later. So much for our quiet Sunday afternoon together. As I swept up the remaining shards, my phone buzzed. It was a text from my sister-in-law, Penelope. "Hey, sis. Lunch tomorrow? Have some juicy gossip to share." I hesitated before replying. Penelope had always been a bit of a troublemaker, but lately she'd been hinting at knowing something about Mason, something she claimed I needed to hear. "Sure," I texted back. "The usual place at noon." Her response was immediate. "Perfect. You won't believe what I've found out." I sighed, tossing the last of the broken vase into the trash. What had happened to my picture-perfect life? Just 2 years ago, Mason and I were the couple everyone envied. Now I felt like I was walking on eggshells in my own home. The next day I arrived at the cafe early, my stomach in knots. Penelope breezed in, her designer sunglasses perched atop her perfectly coiffed hair. "Evelyn, darling," she exclaimed, air-kissing my cheeks. "You look exhausted. Is my brother keeping you up all night?" She winked suggestively. I forced a laugh. "Oh, just busy with work and house stuff." Penelope's smile faltered for a moment. "About that, Evelyn, there's something you should know about Mason." My heart raced. "What is it?" She leaned in close, her voice dropping to a whisper. "I overheard Mom and Dad talking. Apparently, Mason's been seeing a therapist for months. They mentioned something about anger issues and family history." I blinked, stunned. "What? He never told me anything about therapy." Penelope nodded sympathetically. "I know. It's shocking, but there's more. They said something about Mason's father. The one who left when Mason was little?" I nodded, my mind whirling. "Well," Penelope continued, "apparently he didn't just leave. He was abusive, to both Mason's mom and Mason himself." The world seemed to tilt on its axis. Mason had always been vague about his father, but this was beyond anything I'd imagined. "Are you sure?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Penelope reached across the table, squeezing my hand. "I'm so sorry, Evelyn. I thought you deserved to know." I sat back, my lunch forgotten. Suddenly, Mason's mood swings, his increasing irritability, even the incident with the vase, it all took on a new, terrifying context. As I drove home that afternoon, my mind raced with questions. Why hadn't Mason told me about his therapy, about his father? And most importantly, what did this mean for our future, for our marriage? I pulled into our driveway, steeling myself for whatever mood I might find Mason in, but as I reached for the door handle, my phone buzzed with a text. It was from a number I didn't recognize. "Evelyn, we need to talk. It's about Mason. Meet me at Riverside Park tomorrow at 3 p.m. Come alone." I stared at the message, a chill running down my spine. Who was N? And what else could they possibly tell me about my husband that I didn't already know? With a deep breath, I stepped out of the car, ready to face whatever awaited me inside. But one thing was certain. My perfect life was unraveling fast, and I had no idea how to stop it. I paced the living room, my mind racing with the mysterious text message. Who was N, and what did they know about Mason? The sound of his key in the lock made me jump. "Evelyn, you home?" Mason called out, his voice oddly cheerful. I plastered on a smile as he entered. "In here, honey?" He strode in, looking more relaxed than I'd seen him in weeks. "Hey, I was thinking we could order in tonight. Chinese, maybe?" I blinked, caught off guard by his sudden shift in mood. "Sure, that sounds nice." As Mason called in our order, I watched him carefully. Was this the same man who'd exploded over a broken vase just yesterday? The same one hiding a traumatic past and secret therapy sessions? Over dinner, Mason chatted about work, laughing at his own jokes. I nodded along, my stomach churning with each bite. When he reached for my hand across the table, I nearly flinched. "You okay, babe?" he asked, his brow furrowing. "You seem off." I forced another smile. "Just tired, long day at work," he nodded, seemingly satisfied. "Well, why don't you turn in early? I'll clean up." As I lay in bed that night, listening to Mason move around downstairs, I made a decision. I had to meet this mysterious N. I needed answers. The next day I arrived at Riverside Park 10 minutes early. my heart pounding. A woman with sleek black hair approached, her eyes darting nervously. "Evelyn?" she asked quietly. I nodded. "You must be N." "Natalie," she corrected, sitting beside me on the bench. "I work with Mason." My blood ran cold. "You work with him?" Natalie's eyes filled with tears. "Evelyn, I'm so sorry. I didn't know he was married at first. By the time I found out, things had already progressed." The world spun around me. "You're having an affair with my husband?" She nodded miserably. "It ended last week. I told him I couldn't do it anymore. But Evelyn, there's something else you need to know." Before she could continue, my phone rang. It was Mason. "Hey, where are you?" he asked, his voice tight with tension. "I came home early to surprise you, but you're not here." I swallowed hard. "I'm just running some errands. I'll be home soon." "Hurry back," he said, an edge to his voice that sent chills down my spine. "We need to talk." I hung up, my hands shaking. Natalie watched me with wide eyes. "Evelyn," she said urgently, "Mason has a temper. I've seen it at work. He scared me sometimes. Please, be careful." I stood up, my legs unsteady. "I have to go." "Wait," Natalie called after me. "There's more you need to know." But I was already walking away, my mind reeling. My Mason had been unfaithful, and now this woman was warning me about his temper. It was too much to process. As I drove home, a new text came through. It was from Penelope. "Evelyn, call me ASAP. It's about Mason. It's worse than we thought." I pulled over, my hands trembling as I dialed her number. "Evelyn?" Penelope answered on the first ring. Thank God. "Listen, I found out more about Mason's father. The abuse, it wasn't just physical. There were other things, terrible things. And Mason, he might have inherited more than just anger issues." My blood ran cold. "What are you saying, Penelope?" "I'm saying be careful, Evelyn. Very, very careful. And whatever you do, don't confront him alone." As I hung up, a wave of nausea washed over me. The man I'd married, the father of my future child, was suddenly a stranger to me. A potentially dangerous stranger. With shaking hands, I restarted the car. Mason was waiting for me at home, and for the first time in our marriage, I was terrified of what I might find when I got there. The piercing wail of a newborn jolted me awake. I stumbled out of bed, my body aching from the recent delivery. Lily's cries echoed through the nursery as I scooped her into my arms. "Shh, baby girl," I cooed, rocking her gently. "Mommy's here." As Lily's cries subsided, I glanced at the clock. 3:15 a.m. Mason should have been home hours ago. I settled into the rocking chair, Lily nestled against my chest. The past 9 months had been a roller coaster. After that terrifying night, when I'd returned home to find Mason in a rage, hurling accusations about my sneaking around, I'd told him about the pregnancy. The news had stopped him cold, transforming his anger into shocked silence. For a while, things had improved. Mason had been attentive, even loving, as my belly grew. But as the due date approached, his old patterns resurfaced. Late nights at the office, mysterious phone calls, that simmering anger just beneath the surface. The sound of the front door opening snapped me back to the present. Heavy footsteps stumbled up the stairs. "Evelyn?" Mason's voice slurred. "Where are you?" I tensed, holding Lily closer. "In the nursery," I called softly. Mason appeared in the doorway, his tie askew, eyes bloodshot. "Why are you up?" "Lily was hungry," I replied, trying to keep my voice steady. "Where have you been, Mason?" "It's after 3 a.m. He waved a dismissive hand. "Work thing. Ran late." The lie hung heavy between us. I could smell the whiskey on his breath from across the room. "Mason," I started, but he cut me off. "I'm going to bed," he mumbled, turning away. "Don't wait up." As his footsteps faded, I felt a tear slide down my cheek. This wasn't how it was supposed to be. Lily deserved better. We both did. The next few weeks passed in a blur of sleepless nights and tense silences. Mason threw himself into work, leaving before dawn and returning long after Lily and I were asleep. On the rare occasions he was home, his temper flared at the slightest provocation. One afternoon, as I was folding laundry with Lily napping nearby, my phone buzzed. It was a text from Natalie. "We need to talk. It's about Mason. Please meet me." My heart raced. I hadn't spoken to Natalie since that day in the park. What more could she possibly have to tell me? Before I could respond, I heard Mason's car in the driveway. Panic surged through me as I quickly deleted the message. Mason burst through the door, his face flushed with anger. "Why the hell is your sister-in-law calling me, asking if I'm in therapy?" I froze, the laundry forgotten. "Mason, he advanced on me, his voice rising. "Have you been talking to Penelope about our private life? Spreading lies about me?" "They're not lies," I whispered, backing away. "I know about your father, Mason, about the abuse." His face contorted with rage. "You don't know anything," he roared, slamming his fist into the wall beside my head. Lily's startled cries filled the air. I ducked under Mason's arm, racing to scoop her up. "Don't you dare walk away from me," Mason shouted, following me into the nursery. I clutched Lily to my chest, my voice shaking. "Mason, please, you're scaring her, you're scaring me." For a moment, something like shame flickered across his face, then his expression hardened. "I'm going out," he growled. "Don't wait up." As the front door slammed, I sank to the floor, Lily wailing in my arms. This couldn't go on. I had to protect my daughter. I had to protect myself. With trembling fingers, I pulled out my phone and dialed my mother's number. "Mom?" I choked out as soon as she answered. "I need help. Can Lily and I come stay with you for a while?" As I listened to my mother's concerned voice, a steely resolve settled over me. This wasn't the end. It was just the beginning of my fight for a better life, for both Lily and myself. The gentle cooing of Lily and her playpen was the only sound breaking the tense silence of our home. I sat at the kitchen table, staring at the clock. 9:30 p.m. Mason was late. Again. My phone buzzed with a text from Penelope. "How are you holding up? Any word from Mason?" I sighed, typing back, "Nothing. He's been gone more than he's home these days." The past few months had been a blur of sleepless nights and lonely days. Mason's absences had become so frequent that I'd started to feel like a single parent. The rare times he was home, the air crackled with unspoken tension. The sound of a key in the lock made me jump. Mason stumbled in, his tie askew and eyes bloodshot. "Where have you been?" I asked, trying to keep my voice level. He waved a dismissive hand. "Work stuff. You wouldn't understand." The familiar excuse ignited a spark of anger in my chest. "I wouldn't understand? Mason, I've been raising our daughter alone while you're out doing God knows what." His eyes narrowed. "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means I'm not blind, Mason. The late nights, the secretive phone calls, the way you barely look at Lily or me anymore. What's going on?" For a moment, something like guilt flashed across his face. Then his expression hardened. "You're being paranoid, Evelyn. I'm working hard to provide for this family. Is that such a crime?" Before I could respond, Lily started crying. I moved to get her, but Mason held up a hand. "I've got it," he muttered, heading towards the playpen. I watched as he awkwardly picked up our daughter, his movements stiff and unfamiliar. Lily's cries intensified. "Here, let me," I said, reaching for her. Mason jerked away. "I said I've got it," he snapped, his voice rising. Lily wailed louder, her little face red with distress. Something in me snapped, "Give her to me, Mason, now." My voice was low and dangerous. For a tense moment, we stared at each other. Then, with a look of disgust, he thrust Lily into my arms. "Fine, you deal with it. I'm going to bed." As he stormed upstairs, I held Lily close, my heart racing. This wasn't just about Mason's absences anymore. Something was seriously wrong. The next morning, I woke to find Mason already gone. A hastily scribbled note on the kitchen counter read, "Business trip, back in a few days." My stomach churned with a mix of relief and dread. As I prepared Lily's breakfast, my phone rang. It was Natalie. "Evelyn," she said, her voice tight with urgency. "We need to talk. Can you meet me for lunch today?" I hesitated, remembering our last encounter. "I don't know, Natalie. Things are complicated enough as it is." "Please," she insisted. "It's about Mason. There's something you need to know." An hour later, I sat across from Natalie in a quiet cafe, Lily babbling happily in her stroller beside me. Natalie looked nervous, her fingers twisting a napkin. "Evelyn, I'm so sorry. I never meant for any of this to happen." "What are you talking about?" I asked, a knot forming in my stomach. She took a deep breath. "The affair, it didn't end when I said it did. Mason, he threatened me, said he'd ruin my career if I told you the truth." The world seemed to tilt on its axis. "He what?" Natalie's eyes filled with tears. "There's more. I think I might be pregnant." The words hit me like a physical blow. I gripped the edge of the table, struggling to breathe. "Evelyn?" Natalie's voice seemed to come from far away. "Are you okay?" I stood up abruptly, nearly knocking over my chair. "I have to go," I mumbled, grabbing Lily's stroller. As I rushed out of the cafe, my mind raced. Mason's affair, his threats, a possible pregnancy. It was all too much. I needed to think, to plan. One thing was clear. I couldn't go back to that house. I couldn't pretend everything was fine anymore. With shaking hands, I pulled out my phone and dialed my mother's number. It was time to make a change, for Lily's sake and my own. The weight of Natalie's revelation bore down on me as I pushed Lily's stroller through the bustling city streets. My mind raced, trying to make sense of the chaos my life had become. Mason's betrayal, his threats, and now a possible pregnancy with another woman. It was all too much to bear. I found myself in front of a small, discreet office building. The sign read Hawkins Investigations. My hand trembled as I reached for the door handle. Was I really going to do this? Can I help you? A middle-aged woman with kind eyes greeted me as I entered. I took a deep breath. I need to hire a private investigator. An hour later, I left the office with a strange mix of dread and determination. Mr. Hawkins had listened patiently to my story, his expression growing grimmer with each detail. He promised to start surveillance immediately. As I walked home, my phone buzzed. It was Mason. "Where are you?" His voice was sharp, irritated. "I came home early and you're not here." I swallowed hard. "I took Lily to the park. We'll be home soon." "Hurry up," he snapped before hanging up. My heart raced as I approached our house. Mason's car was in the driveway, and I could see his silhouette pacing in the living room window. "There you are," he said as I entered, his tone accusatory. "Where have you really been, Evelyn?" I busied myself with unbuckling Lily from her stroller. "I told you we were at the park." Mason's eyes narrowed. "For 3 hours? Don't lie to me." Before I could respond, his phone buzzed. He glanced at it, his face paling slightly. "I have to go," he muttered, grabbing his keys. "But you just got home," I protested, a sinking feeling in my stomach. He was already halfway out the door. "Work emergency. Don't wait up." As his car peeled out of the driveway, I felt a surge of anger and determination. Enough was enough. I put Lily down for her nap and then made a call. "Mr. Hawkins? It's Evelyn. My husband just left in a hurry. Can you?" "Already on it, Mrs. Carter," he replied. "I'll keep you updated." The next few hours were agonizing. I paced the house, jumping at every sound, my phone clutched tightly in my hand. Finally, it buzzed. A text from Mr. Hawkins. "Check your email. You'll want to see this." With shaking hands, I opened my laptop. There, in vivid color, were several photos of Mason. With Natalie, entering a hotel. I felt like I might be sick. Despite everything, despite knowing the truth, seeing it was something else entirely. Another text came through. "There's more. Call when you can." Lily's cries from the nursery snapped me back to reality. I went through the motions of changing and feeding her, my mind in a fog. Once she was settled, I called Mr. Hawkins. "Mrs. Carter," he said, his voice grave. "I've uncovered some financial irregularities in your husband's accounts. Large transfers to offshore banks, withdrawals from your joint savings. It appears he's been planning this for some time." The room spun around me. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying, Mrs. Carter, that your husband isn't just having an affair. He's preparing to leave the country with a significant portion of your shared assets." The phone slipped from my hand, clattering to the floor. Mason wasn't just betraying me emotionally, he was planning to destroy us financially as well. In that moment, something inside me hardened. The fear, the uncertainty, the desperate hope that things might improve, it all fell away, replaced by a steely resolve. I picked up the phone. "Mr. Hawkins, I need you to document everything, and I mean everything." "Of course, Mrs. Carter. What are you planning to do?" I looked at Lily, peacefully sleeping in her crib, unaware of the storm brewing around her. My voice was steady as I replied, "I'm going to fight, for myself, for my daughter, and for everything we deserve. Mason thinks he can walk away from us. He has no idea what's coming." As I hung up, I felt a strange calm settle over me. The game had changed, and so had I. Mason was about to learn that he'd underestimated the wrong woman. The morning sun streamed through the curtains as I zipped up the last of our suitcases. Lily babbled happily in her playpen, blissfully unaware of the seismic shift about to rock our lives. I took a deep breath, steeling myself for what was to come. The front door slammed, making me jump. Mason's heavy footsteps echoed through the house. "Evelyn, where are you?" His voice was thick with irritation. I stepped out of the bedroom, my heart pounding. "In here, Mason?" He stormed into view, his face flushed with anger. "What the hell is this?" He thrust a stack of papers at me. I recognized them immediately. Bank statements, hotel receipts, photos of him with Natalie. My evidence. "I think you know exactly what this is," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. Mason's eyes narrowed dangerously. "You've been spying on me?" "I've been protecting myself and our daughter," I shot back. "How long did you think you could keep this up, Mason?" "The affair, the secret bank accounts." He lunged forward, grabbing my arm. "You have no idea what you're talking about." I wrenched away from him. "Don't touch me. It's over, Mason. I'm leaving, and I'm taking Lily with me." His face contorted with rage. "Like hell you are? He made a move towards Lily's playpen. I stepped between them, my voice low and dangerous. Don't you dare. You come near her and I swear I'll... The doorbell interrupted us. Mason froze, his eyes darting to the front door. That'll be my mother, I said, my chin raised defiantly. She's here to help us move out. Mason's face paled. You called your mother? Evelyn, we can work this out. You don't need to. Work what out, Mason? I snapped. Your affair? The money you've been siphoning from our accounts? Or maybe the fact that Natalie might be pregnant? He stumbled back as if I'd struck him. How did you... It doesn't matter. What matters is that we're done. I want a divorce. The doorbell rang again, more insistently this time. Mason's demeanor suddenly shifted, his voice taking on a pleading tone. Evelyn, please, think about Lily. She needs both her parents. I felt a flicker of doubt, but then I remembered the photos, the lies, the years of manipulation. No, Mason. What Lily needs is a mother who's strong enough to walk away from a toxic situation, and that's exactly what I'm doing. I moved to open the door, but Mason blocked my path. You're not taking my daughter anywhere. Step aside, Mason, I warned. Don't make this uglier than it needs to be. For a tense moment, we stared each other down. Then, with a defeated slump of his shoulders, Mason moved away. I opened the door to find my mother, Susan, her face etched with concern. Evelyn, honey, is everything okay? It will be, Mom, I said, ushering her inside. Can you get Lily? I'll grab the bags. As we prepared to leave, Mason made one last desperate attempt. Evelyn, please, I love you. We can fix this. I turned to face him, my voice firm. No, Mason, we can't. You broke this and now you have to live with the consequences. With Lily in my arms and my mother by my side, I walked out of the house that had once been our home. As we drove away, I caught a glimpse of Mason in the rearview mirror, standing alone on the porch. A mix of emotions washed over me, relief, sadness, fear, and a glimmer of hope. The road ahead would be challenging, but for the first time in years, I felt like I could breathe. You did the right thing, honey, my mother said softly, squeezing my hand. I nodded, my eyes fixed on the road ahead. This wasn't the end. It was a new beginning. For me, for Lily, and for the life we deserved. The kitchen in my mother's house was warm and filled with the aroma of fresh coffee, but I couldn't shake the chill that had settled in my bones. Lily babbled happily in her high chair, oblivious to the tension surrounding her. Evelyn, honey, my mother, Susan, said gently, you need to eat something. I stared at the untouched toast on my plate. I can't, Mom. Not until we figure this out. The sound of the front door opening made us both turn. My stepfather John walked in, his face grim. I just got off the phone with our lawyer, he said, sitting down heavily at the table. It's worse than we thought. My heart raced. What do you mean? John sighed, running a hand through his silver hair. Mason's been busy. He's trying to claim you're an unfit mother, Evelyn. He's going for full custody of Lily. The room spun around me. He can't do that, I whispered. He barely even looked at her for months. It gets worse, John continued. He's denying the affair with Natalie, claiming you're paranoid and unstable, and those offshore accounts we found, he's saying they were business investments you knew about. Anger surged through me, hot and fierce. That lying bastard! Language, dear, my mother murmured, glancing at Lily. I took a deep breath, trying to calm myself. What do we do now? John leaned forward, his eyes serious. We fight. Hard. I've got some connections at Mason's company. If we can prove the affair happened at work, it could change everything. Just then my phone buzzed. It was a text from Penelope. We need to talk. It's about Mason. Meet me at the park in an hour. I showed the message to my parents. Should I go? My mother frowned. I don't trust that woman. She's always been too close to Mason. But she might have information we need, John pointed out. I stood up, decision made. I'm going. Mom, can you watch Lily? An hour later, I sat on a park bench, my nerves on edge. Penelope approached, her designer sunglasses hiding her eyes. Evelyn, she said, sitting beside me. I'm so sorry about all this. I cut to the chase. What do you know, Penelope? She hesitated, then reached into her purse. Mason doesn't know I have this, she said, handing me a USB drive. It's emails between him and Natalie. And financial records. He's been planning this for over a year, Evelyn. The affair, the money, everything. My hands shook as I clutched the drive. Why are you giving me this? Penelope's face crumpled. Because I can't stand by and watch him destroy you and Lily. He tried to get me involved in his schemes. I refused, but I should have told you sooner. I'm so sorry. As she spoke, a figure caught my eye across the park. Mason. He was striding towards us, his face twisted with rage. Penelope, he shouted. What the hell are you doing? I stood up, adrenaline coursing through me. Stay back, Mason, I warned. He ignored me, grabbing Penelope's arm. You promised you wouldn't interfere. Let her go, I demanded, my voice stronger than I felt. Mason turned on me, his eyes wild. You've ruined everything, he snarled. I'll make sure you never see Lily again. Something in me snapped. All the fear, all the pain of the past months crystallized into a single, burning point of rage. No, Mason, I said, my voice low and dangerous. You're the one who's ruined everything, and I'm going to make sure everyone knows exactly what kind of man you really are. I held up the USB drive. It's over, you've lost. For a moment, Mason looked truly afraid. Then, with a growl of frustration, he lunged for the drive. Time seemed to slow. I saw Penelope's shocked face, heard her cry out a warning. But I was already moving, dodging Mason's grasp and backing away. Don't do this, Evelyn, Mason pleaded, his voice suddenly desperate. We can work it out, for Lily's sake. I stood my ground, years of pent-up emotion pouring out. No, Mason, this ends now, for Lily's sake and for mine. As I turned to walk away, I felt a weight lift from my shoulders. The battle wasn't over, but for the first time, I knew with certainty that I would win. The courtroom fell silent as the judge cleared his throat. My heart pounded so loudly I was sure everyone could hear it. Beside me, John squeezed my hand reassuringly. Across the aisle, Mason sat with his lawyer, his face a mask of cool indifference. In the matter of Carter versus Carter, the judge began, this court has reviewed all evidence presented. I held my breath, my mind racing through the events of the past few weeks. John's connections at Mason's company had paid off, providing irrefutable proof of his affair with Natalie. The financial records Penelope had given me exposed Mason's elaborate scheme to hide assets. It had all led to this moment. And fines in favor of the plaintiff, Evelyn Carter. A collective gasp rippled through the courtroom. I sat stunned as the judge continued. Mr. Carter's actions constitute a clear breach of fiduciary duty. The court awards Mrs. Carter full custody of their daughter, Lily, with Mr. Carter granted supervised visitation. Furthermore, Mr. Carter is ordered to pay alimony and child support as outlined in the divorce settlement. Tears of relief streamed down my face. It was over. We had won. As we left the courthouse, a commotion erupted behind us. Mason came barreling down the steps, his face contorted with rage. You've ruined me, he shouted. I've lost everything because of you. John stepped protectively in front of me, but I gently moved him aside. This was my battle to finish. No, Mason, I said, my voice steady. You ruined yourself, your choices, your lies, your betrayal. That's what cost you everything. Mason's anger seemed to deflate, replaced by a desperate pleading. Evelyn, please, I'm sorry. I'll do anything. Just give me another chance. For a moment, I saw a flicker of the man I had once loved, but that man was gone, replaced by someone I barely recognized. It's too late for that, Mason, I replied softly. I hope you find peace, for Lily's sake, if nothing else. But our life together is over. As Mason was led away by his lawyer, I turned to my family, my mother, John, and little Lily in her stroller. Their love and support had been my anchor through this storm. Let's go home, I said, feeling lighter than I had in years. Months passed, and life settled into a new rhythm. I returned to work, finding joy in my career once again. Lily thrived, growing more curious and vibrant every day, and I discovered strength I never knew I possessed. One sunny afternoon, as I pushed Lily on the swings in the park, a familiar face approached. It was Natalie, her eyes downcast and her steps hesitant. Evelyn, she said softly, I don't know if you want to hear this, but I'm sorry for everything. I studied her face, searching for any hint of deception. Finding none, I nodded. Thank you, Natalie. I hope you found peace too. As she walked away, Lily squealed with delight, reaching for me. I scooped her up, holding her close. You know, little one, I whispered, sometimes life doesn't go the way we plan, but that doesn't mean it can't be beautiful. Later that evening, as I tucked Lily into bed, my phone buzzed with a text from Penelope. Dinner next week? I miss my niece and my sister-in-law. I smiled, typing back a quick yes. Family, I had learned, came in many forms. As I settled onto the porch swing, watching the sun set over the neighborhood, I felt a profound sense of contentment wash over me. The road had been hard, the battles fierce, but I had emerged stronger, wiser, and more true to myself than ever before. This wasn't the life I had once dreamed of, but it was a good life, a life of my own making. And as I closed my eyes, listening to the gentle evening sounds and feeling the warm breeze on my face, I knew that the best was yet to come. For the first time in years, I was truly completely free, And that freedom? It tasted sweeter than I ever could have imagined.